Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, August 30th, 2025. We are days away from the month of disclosure. Not sure if that's what's going to be, but boy, that's what we're calling it now. Time will tell to see where this all goes. In the meantime, let me go ahead and welcome our participants in the chat, because remember, the chat is where it's at, my friend. Who's out there? We've got Andy W., Brains, Carl Garrison's in the chat, along with Craig Smith. Good to see you, Dan Larev. Anton Ghost just popped up along with Daryl's YouTube. D. Henderson is here along with Enoch the Witness. We got Phantomos Phanto. Gray Hair Discoveries popped in the chat. Good to see you, my friends. Hooray for John. Idaho Strong. Invisible Tracker. J Cat Meow. Good to see you, friends. Kathy, Catlin. Kelly Broden with piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly, as always. King Bull 90s is here along with Megan Betts, Mr. Grimlock, Mr. Pando, Necessary Dialogue, Niles Guy, our resident Pitbull. Be careful, guys. If you're misbehaving in the chat, he will take care of you. Rainbow's here along with Sam. We got Scott Jensen, Steve Hines, Super Unknown, and the Chromosome Cowboy. The Mac Geek is back. Tom Clark's here along with Wee Beasties, and I think we got it to the end. How about that, friends? What a day, what a night. It's time for some disclosure tonight. Mike, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, it's been a very hectic week so far. I've been juggling and dealing with a lot of different things, as you are aware of. And we have some more stuff regarding the show that we need to address as well. So it never seems to end, Thomas. It's always something.
Well, Mike, we do a live broadcast, unedited, goes out to the audience. Sometimes I say a faux pas. Sometimes you may say a faux pas. But it doesn't truly represent who we are and how we feel and what we've done as far as covering disclosure.
It's true, and most people may not realize this, but we do an unscripted show. So nothing is thought out ahead of time. We have a free conversation, open-ended, and sometimes you can make a mistake because of that, which sometimes happens, which we're going to address here to now.
Yeah. Absolutely, thanks to our troll friends out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're popular because, we've supported Lou Elizondo for the longest time. They've been attacking us nonstop for years, and sometimes they go away for a bit, but boy, they are back with a passion again.
Yeah, because they don't have any actual content of their own, so they look to troll us and what we put out there, and that's all they can do, and that's what they seem to do on a regular basis.
Yeah. Now, someone who was part of their clan, Little Pop-Tart, has since broken the silence and actually started releasing information about their group. How could they do this? How could they be spending all this time in this? They got to be funded from somebody. Well, it sounds like a lot of this stuff is coming from the man who's been accused of being a Russian agent in the past, Dr. Stephen Greer. And now the thing is, it sounds like they've got the Cousins brothers, from third phase of the moon. And then you've got Mike Mazzola, who's the producer director of Stephen Greer's films and video ventures.
Right. So they're using their ill-gotten grifted gains to focus and target on you and me and Lou Elizondo.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
For the longest time.
Yeah, it's been going on for years now. It never seems to die down or go away. It's relentless.
So we've got a clip here we're going to play from the show. This is from the episode we had last week called Disclosure is on Fire, talking about a lot of stuff going on. And we were just having a conversation, I believe, talking about Eric Burleson getting sent down to look at the mummies by David Grush. And as we were talking about things, we've always called, or you've called many times, Mike, Stephen Greer grifter on many different occasions. And when you mentioned his name, I had actually misspoken David's name for Greer's name earlier in the conversation. And this time you had said David's name instead of Greer's name. And because of that, there's a lot of people who have their panties up in a bind.
Oh, they do. You're absolutely right about that. It was just...
Uh-oh. Mike just redid his phone, and it may have run out of battery. We'll see when he comes back in. Yeah, okay, so getting up to that point, Mike made a mistake. He said something he shouldn't have potentially said. Let's just go ahead and rerun this clip so everybody can go and hear it, and then hopefully Mike should be able to pop back in and talk about it with us. Let me get into here. All right, pop into the thing. Again, this is from our Disclosures on Fire clip, right around 50 minutes in. We'll give you a little bit of time ahead getting up to that point. Mike, I'm just going to go ahead. I gave the audience a preface of where they are with this clip. Oh, look, I'm wearing the same shirt.
Look at that.
It's my show shirt for this time of year. So let me go ahead and play this clip here, and we'll get there. Hold on. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me where I'm going next. I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Gosh, the next part of the story, Eric Burleson popped up in a space hosted by two of the biggest disclosure trolls out there on X. And he was there hanging out with them. And I just... But then again, wait a minute. He's getting guidance from Grush. Oh, but why?
Well, wait, hold on. No, Thomas, let me remind you, we covered this on the show here and put up pictures of Representative Eric Burleson standing right next to DC Muscle Wolf, and we know where he's also getting his direction from. You remember that, Thomas?
From David Grush.
No, David Grush is not DC Muscle Wolf.
No, that's right. And I screwed up. I said the wrong thing at that point because I was focusing on getting this next image up for us to talk about. So let's get into it. Stephen Greer, but he was sent down there by David Grush to go check out the tridactyls.
Yeah. So we put that picture with Burleson standing right next to Stephen Greer. And we know that anybody that's taking advice or going down that rabbit hole, it's not a good place to be because Grush is a well-established grifter at this point and can't be trusted with a word that comes out of his mouth. It's funny.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that was a big faux pas on my part. Big mistake.
Yeah, if I could find the sound effect of the... Yeah, scratch the record on that one. Yeah, it was a mistake.
It was a big mistake because we clearly, if you listen to the clip in context, we're not talking about Grush at all. We were talking about Burleson with Stephen Greer.
Right.
And I've said, like you pointed out many times on the show, that Stephen Greer is a well-known grifter and you can't trust a word that comes out of his mouth. So I meant to say Greer instead of Grush. So it was a mistake. Purely accidental.
Yeah.
Because we have never here on the show ever accused David Grush of being a grifter.
Right.
There's no reason for it.
Right.
So we would never say something like that. So I, unfortunately, made a mistake and confused Greer's name with Grush's.
It happens.
But that was, it was purely accidental because we've never made any points against Grush as being a grifter in any way, shape, or form. So
correct.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that I would say that, but unfortunately, it seems like I did.
But earlier parts of this episode, Mike, if I can get in for a second, they were even talking about that I was attacking Grush because I read the posts that Ivan Hanel had shared. And the behind-the-scenes community, they didn't think that should have been shared with the audience. We should have kept quiet on it. And because of that, I'm not that liked for it. But the truth of the matter is, if something's going out and it's exposing what's going on behind the scene in disclosure, for a lot of people we'd like to hear from that we haven't heard about, and now we've got some stuff, it's meant to be shared. Why would you censor it?
You wouldn't, but you also have to let the audience know that that was a public post that Ivan put out there, and we were covering that. So that was already put out publicly.
Yeah.
All we did was cover it. It wasn't our opinion, and we were covering what Ivan was putting out there as far as how he feels about David Grush and other people in the community.
Yeah, some people in the audience are saying when you look at the whole context of the show, it's obvious you didn't mean Grush. No worries. That's how people should take it. But sometimes people look for the little nitpicks they can do to go ahead and kick you out of their little club.
Well, especially if they're being paid to try to discredit us and the show, they'll take a mistake like that and they'll run it up the flagpole. Yeah. Which they've been doing. So, yeah, it was purely accidental. It was a mistake.
Yeah.
We've never talked about Grush in that way as a grifter ever.
No.
Because he's plainly not.
No,
so
you had Swan out there before, which has been brought up recently, going ahead and saying that you had doxed him, which is not the case. And I actually have something written up here, a statement that I'm going to read that I don't think anyone's ever heard this story completely, but fuck it at this point. What do we have to lose, right?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
So let me, let's burn the house down, my friend. Okay.
Yeah.
Turning back the clock of disclosure several years. In one of many video conferences with Lou Elizondo, Rob Heatherly, and myself, we were introduced to David Grush at a time when both Lou and David were both working for Space Force. And I believe it was in Crystal Springs, Colorado.
Right.
David was presented to us as a friend of Lou's, a good guy, and like an asset for the UFO disclosure movement. At that time,
well, not only that, he was supposed to be working with you in Skyfort, right?
We're always going to be working with Lou in Skyfort at that time, but things that happened, things that blown up, that went away. This is just a separate conversation, so let's just get on with it. So at that time, things that happened around David's house, drones were seen, and things happened that he was fearing for the safety of him and his wife. Now, after that drone that I mentioned had been seen surveying his house, within days, his house was actually broken into, and a threatening note was left in an obvious location, threatening his family's safety. After a sweep of the residence, it uncovered covert bugs and listening devices that were also placed in his place at that time, maybe sooner. There was also concern about information regarding David's whistleblower activities might be linked to the public, and Rob and I were asked to keep watch for any mention of his name on social media, YouTube, and report back because a lot of things were in play. Just to be clear, no information about what he was whistleblowing was ever disclosed to Rob and I on the call. We knew a name, we knew where he worked, and that his well-being was in jeopardy, and so was his opportunity to go ahead and bring out the truth on disclosure. And that's actually the last time I personally spoke to David Grush. Now, fast forward from that time about a year and a half, while reporting on a podcast from Jimmy Church that had Danny Sheehan on, Danny casually mentioned about a new whistleblower coming out by the name of David Grush.
Right. And
this is during a show, and I heard it, and I was like, oh, no, that can't be. Danny did it again. Because if you remember earlier, Danny had actually, on a different podcast, he went out there and he disclosed that Lou was working for Space Force, which got Lou removed from Space Force. So Danny did it again, 2 times now. A moment later, a light bulb went off, I just said again, and I realized it took place. I immediately circled back to emails confirming David's name was indeed leaked, because I haven't talked to David for about a year and a half or so at that time, right?
Right.
It was his name, and that was leaked by Danny. Now, during the podcast, I reached out via email to inform David of the leak and for him to prepare for the rough seas ahead, because his whistleblower status was now in the public. Now, after the show, talking with members of our viewer call-in panel, I discussed my shock and dismay of what Danny Sheehan had said. I mean, come on, he's Lou's lawyer disclosed privileged information to the public at large, potentially putting David and his wife in harm's way. Now, Swan Patel, who used to be part of the show, was furious, Mike, if you remember.
I do.
Because David had not yet come forward publicly, and he lost it. And he lost it to a degree where he got freaking kicked off the show at that point. Yes, he was demanding that David must come forward immediately and disclose everything to the public. Now, remember, this isn't Swan's choice, but as days turned into weeks, Swan became more and more unhinged and vocal on Twitter. Nothing we could say to him could calm him down, and in his rage, Swan knowingly spread lies on X posts and spaces, accusing Mike of doxing Rush and attacking Rush in a whole bunch of expletives, and even calling him a cockroach hiding who's afraid to come forward. Again, these aren't our words. This is the situation that went through. Now, you take that whole situation. Everyone has been saying that you've been attacking, you dox Rush. You never dox Rush.
Never.
I've never doxed Rush. I had conversations with him, and I, kept a watchful eye. But that's about it. We all learned about everything else.
Right. And he wasn't technically doxed even till today.
Yeah.
His private information has remained private.
Yeah.
Never come out. Nobody ever put that out there. So that's an incorrect, inaccurate statement to say that he was actually doxxed. He never was.
Yeah. So because we're involved with stuff, we have a live show, we talk about things, we've been associated with Lou going back many years, we've become a target for the anti-Lou crew.
Yes. And been attacked as a result of that because of our friendship with Lou.
Yeah. And it continues, and it goes on more and more. When I was talking about in that clip, and I mentioned about Burleson's space that he was in, and the trolls.
Yeah.
That was part of the clip that they actually took, and they took 11 minutes of the show to play. It's kind of unconscionable, but it is what it is.
That's true. They're going to do what they do, and obviously we know they're being paid to do that. So, yeah, it's an income for them, and they're taking shots at us as a result of that.
Which there's not a lot you can do about it. For the most part, I don't address it. I don't talk about this kind of stuff. I kind of leave it aside. But no, they're even we're claiming Swan was a host on Disclosure tonight. It's never
a producer, I believe.
Oh yeah, or host or producer or something. Yeah.
But Swan himself came to his senses at one point after all that, and he made a public statement that he explained that the statements that he made prior were false. He said it out of anger from being removed from the show, and that he was sorry for losing his temper, which he often does. Mm-hmm. Right?
Correct.
So, yeah, we had him address that publicly, and he explained why he said the things that he did out of anger, and that they weren't true.
Anger or unchecked emotions or unstableness. So either way, unhinged conversations were going on.
It was. And he was not happy with us at the time because we removed him from the show.
Right.
So he took that
out. It was your birthday, and that's when he started dropping expletives for you on the show, and he was removed, and he hasn't been back since. Correct.
That's right. So we dealt with it, and we were diplomatic about it, but we had no choice but to make sure that he was not able to return and continue that type of behavior. So we resolved the issue, and these were the effects of resolving it and why he initially said the things that he did out of anger. Yeah. But then he corrected it. So it should have been cleared up out there once and for all, but the trolls decided to ignore that part of it and only play the part of him making those statements out of anger.
And this is one of the things, Mike, that goes on where people in the community, to a degree, we've been getting attacked, we've been getting hit. I've had death threats. Lou's had death threats at the same times dealing with it. That's when I first, that's one of the many times I've worked with Danny in the past. And, I guess they say we stir up drama, but the reality is we're getting a lot of stuff thrown at us, and sometimes, we will fire back. We get tired of being hit all the time, and sometimes, if someone slaps your face, you don't turn the cheek, you slice off the hand with the sword. Yeah, and that was actually Rob Heatherly's approach to it as well back in the day.
Yeah, but we usually try to correct whatever false information they're putting out there and let the audience know that we put everything into context so that they know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Which is all you really can do. It's the right thing for us to do, which is why we do that.
Exactly.
But in this situation, they took something that I had misspoken by confusing the name of Greer and Grush, and they put it out there. So they were trying to stir up more trouble, even though it was something that was, if you listened to the full show and took it into context, realizing it was just a slip of the tongue, an honest mistake.
Yeah. Taken out of context, and it's just kind of where things are. And if people want to burn us at the stake for it, we'll get in line.
Yeah, pick a number. But we wanted to let everybody know and correct that it was unintentional, and we by no means intended to make a statement that David Grush is some sort of a grifter.
Yeah.
That's certainly not the case. Never has been. We've never made any points about that against David Grush because we know it's not true. But on the other hand, Dr. Stephen Greer, DC Muscle Wolf himself, absolutely is a grifter, and that's been established publicly for a long time now. So we'll make points about that because it's accurate and truthful information. So that's what I was talking about, but I misspoke by using Grush's name accidentally.
Yeah. It's not like you've got a house full of 2 dogs, 8 cats, and 4 kids and a wife.
That's true. Plus, this is an unscripted show. We don't have everything all mapped out before ahead of time that we're reading from off of a script. We speak freely. We speak whatever's on our mind, and the conversation flows. And as a result of that, with everything that we deal with behind the scenes and in front of the camera, it's sometimes mistakes can happen, which I certainly made that mistake, unintentionally.
Oh, absolutely.
So any apologies to any of the whistleblowers out there if they took that out of context, and David Grush, it was nothing meant directly against him.
Yeah.
Purely accidental.
Absolutely. No, I
think I hope that clears everything up for everybody.
Hopefully it should. I know Michael Sokoloff just raised his hand in the back. Michael?
Yeah, well, at least we know, Mike, that they're watching us.
Oh, God, yeah. And they're hanging on every word, Michael.
And you know, maybe on one of our shows, you could slip in something that would give them something to talk about, but that was totally false.
Yeah. Well,
they accuse us of making up disinformation and knowingly spreading lies and everything else, and that's not what we do here. Sometimes you have to go ahead and cut it to the edge and find the latest news stories and everything. You know, when I was told in the past that, you know, Stephen Greer was an asset of Russia, didn't say anything about it. Nope. Just kept my eyes open looking for stuff.
No, and it's like whenever we talk about people like Stephen Greer, people like Jake Barber, they don't replay those clips. They don't put that out there. I wonder why that is. Maybe because that's where the paycheck comes from. Yeah. So they don't want to put that back out. Right. So they're very selective about what the content they steal from us.
Right. That's true. But
own.
Also in the UFO community as a whole, there's a lot of things that are going out that if you report on it, shame on you. You shouldn't have talked about that. Like all the stuff that went on with Ivan. I thought that was important stuff that we should cover, and it was very powerful words written by an experienced lawyer that I thought everyone deserved to hear exactly what he was saying. Now, a lot of people said, oh, you shouldn't have covered that. That's not right. We're going to excommunicate you. I could hear that one.
So
and they already did.
I got to wonder just how closely they are watching and why.
Oh, they watch every show. They listen to every word that comes out of Thomas and my mouth. And then they take whatever they can from that and try to use it against us, Lou, anybody else on one side. If we're talking about known grifters out there, like Dr. Stephen Greer, they won't replay that.
Now, one of the things about Greer to that extent, before Lou Elizondo came around, if you remember, he was the chosen one. The one everyone was going to and listening to for disclosure. But when Lou came around with his nuts and bolts approach to stuff, Greer and his CE5 meditation and his private dinners at his house to do private meditations, you know, for $5,000, $10,000 a head, and his huge gatherings he's getting these days for people to come in and do a mass paid, you know, CE5 event. It's all about the money to a big degree. And I get that. That's what he wants to do. But there has been an animosity kind of between the two because Lou doesn't like Greer for what Greer's doing, and Greer appears to be very upset because his dialogue now and his whistleblowers, especially these days, are all getting pushed to the side and no one's believing his shtick anymore.
Right. They're not buying the bullshit like they once did, and he's very resentful against Lou for being one of the people that put that publicly out there, called him out for what he is and what he's doing.
Yeah.
He didn't like it.
Yeah, you know, those guys are one of the reasons I closed my X account, because I don't want to listen to them. I don't want to see their crap in my feed. You know, I think, as you know, one of our friends also closed their account to X. So I think X, well, in a year or two, is going to just die.
Well, I'm not so sure about X dying, but there certainly are bad people out there that are turning it into a sewer and getting away with it. They're doing it for clicks. They're doing it because they're being paid to do so. So if they don't have content, Thomas has said on the show for years now, if there's no content on this subject, the only thing left is drama. And they're very good at creating drama from nothing and attacking people. It's what they do. And other people as well out there do the same thing. So it's unfortunate, and it leaves the general public with a bad taste in their mouth when they have to experience any of that. But it's primarily what their function is with their accounts. It's what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay Anderson, your hand is up, my friend.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the Ivan thing, I actually got attacked on my channel about that too, about he was saying. I had a clip that I was showing on one of my podcasts about, you know, and I used it for the Skywatcher thing, and I said, where are they at? What are they doing? Well, this is why. And I used a clip from him, and I got pummeled.
Yeah, it's like things. It's like things are going on, and they don't want you to talk about it.
They don't like the truth. It's like, and all I had was one question, you know, like I said before, that one question. If you answer that, I'll apologize to you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like almost reminds me, Mike, of the mass media, where if a story that goes on that goes against the Democrat, if you want to call it, party, or what's going on, or their line that they're following, but it's something that's very newsworthy and should be covered, it will be completely ignored in the media. And I've seen that's been going on for too many years to count. But we've got the same thing going in people who are reporting on disclosure, unfortunately.
Yeah, we do. And Jay, Ivan is Lou's personal attorney, and Ivan was in the UAPDF, and he was unceremoniously voted out of the UAPDF without his knowledge or consent. So he has a lot of inside information and a lot of bad blood with the rogue actors out there that are involved in this. So he calls it out because he has nothing to lose. And when he does that, if we cover it, it's just news.
Exactly. That's the same thing.
Right. No, you did the right thing, Jay. They have no reason to attack you for that. You didn't. It's not your opinion. You were covering Ivan's opinion on it.
Right. And honestly, especially Jay, when I heard that stuff, it was like it gave us insight to what was going on with the UAPDF, what Grush was doing behind the scenes in Congress, and more importantly, the pressure that was coming from David through members of the UAPDF to Ivan to persuade Lou to violate national security, which is something Lou Elizondo would never do. He'd take a firing squad before he broke national security.
Nobody in their right mind would do that.
Yeah.
Which is, if you remember when we covered this story, Thomas, it was Representative Anna Paulina Luna who was demanding that Lou bring the red meat. Well, that was Grush that told her that Grush said that he needs to bring the red meat.
Right, and the bring the red meat came through the people at the UAPDF to Ivan.
Right. So Ivan was pissed off about that, as he should be, and he talked about it openly and publicly, which we covered because it's news. And he has inside information. So he has a right to talk about these things that he's been dealing with, and we have a right to cover it. which we did. And if people don't like that, then, this is what we do. We report on the news and the things that are going on.
Right. And being involved in some of these circles in the past, these days, I'm glad I'm not, because now I can cover whatever is happening in the news without fear of retribution of, if I say something or if I cover this, I'm going to be, shushed away.
Right. Yeah, because you're going to violate what they think is their right to censorship, and we don't believe in censorship.
Yeah.
We believe in anything that's out there publicly we can discuss.
Yeah. But it's amazing, though. They act like some of these people act like you're their friends, but as soon as something goes on, I never liked the guy. What the hell's up with that?
Well, that's called being two-faced and smiling in your face, but stabbing you in the back first chance they get, which unfortunately is the case with a lot of people in this community. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I have had to deal with that.
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
It seems to be the standard MO, but drama, you got to talk about it. Yeah, because if they're not attacking us, they're attacking themselves. And also what happens when nothing goes on and there's nothing happening in the community, you get podcasters interviewing podcasters, recycling the information in a circular manner to reaffirm what they're saying. So it's an interesting situation. Now, like we covered it last night about all the headlines we're getting and all the different things. And it's just like, let's just get back to the facts of what we're covering. Let's get things to move forward and hopefully get out, stop getting the disclosure trucks stuck in the mud and spinning its wheels.
Right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. The truth needs to come out, and the people need to be made aware of everything that's going on.
Yep.
So this way they know what to expect and what may and may not be coming forward. Just like the task force is due to be closed down at the end of this year.
Yep. But then hopefully I'll come back to either we're talking about the task force for the disclosure of national secrets, whatever that bullshit it was. Hopefully at that point, with that going down, it's actually going to result in getting back to the UAP conference and just focusing on that and not all this other bullshit that's been put out there to distract everybody.
That's true. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It is a distraction. The drama, people get caught up in it, and they get distracted from what's really going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that happens, but it does, especially in this community. And you and I, we avoid that and try to stick to our guns of what's really the accurate information and put it out there as best as we can.
Yep.
And it seems like Jay is doing that with his podcast as well.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you, Jay. You got to do that because otherwise...
That's the only thing I do is just put out the truth. And what I hear is the truth, and I put it out.
Hey, Jay, do me a favor. Drop your channels.
I actually sent you an email.
Which account? Disclosure Tonight?
The Thomas Fessler at, I think... the one you have under the description.
Could be this one. When did you send it? Just now? Do me a favor, Justin. Are you on a phone or your computer?
My phone.
All right. So yeah, I'll find it. I want to put that out there for our audience to go ahead and give you some subs. You deserve it. You're at like 300-400 subs right now, and you deserve more than that. Let me check one email account first. JLR, I got ya. Galactic Family Podcast, YouTube. It's called Manted Hybrid is your channel?
Yeah.
All right, everybody, let me ask my audience a favor. Jay's a great guy. We've got 281 people watching the show right now. If you're up for decent content and disclosure from another solid voice out there, please.
Most of mine are guests and more hardcore figures in the disclosure, like NASA or different government officials.
Yeah, like you recently had Tim Phillips on as well. So like people like
great
that.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've just put a message out in the chat, and I've pinned it to the top of the chat. So I'll leave it up there for a while, and everyone follow your link to that. Don't leave the show, but go ahead, bring it up in another window, and please subscribe. He deserves it. All right. Shall we get to UFO news, Mike?
Yeah, it's about time, Thomas. Yeah, I'm with you.
I can have the story sometime about you back when I was on UFO Man and wanting to cover UFO news and dealing with the drama over there and getting stabbed in the back and people who were, it was an interesting time. Yeah, I've been through all this many times, Mike, in Disclosure. So let's get into
it. And you know what? That was years ago. And it's like, this shit never stops.
But it's the same thing we're seeing from different people, and it's endemic. There's a lot of two-faced backstabbers out there who host shows, just saying.
Oh, you're right. And what the audience may not know is that, believe it or not, we have had private conversations with a lot of the people we're talking about, where they could have said anything about how they felt, and they said one thing to us, but said something else to other people, and there's no excuse for that. None.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you and I both dealt with that, unfortunately, till this very day. It doesn't seem to end.
And we're not going to attack any other channels unless they go after us, and they go after us, and they go after us. Then we may talk about it, but whatever it is. But we're just kind of generally talking about, again, we're talking about behind the scenes of what goes on in the disclosure community, which I think people as a whole deserve to know.
They do, because they don't have access to information like that, so they don't really know what's going on, good or bad, which is why we're talking about it now.
And they should ask, and if someone heard something, and they should say, Mike, what the hell were you saying? Rather than just reacting to it. It's just a matter of, oh, you said something, get the fuck out of here. No, it's like, did you really mean that? What happened, buddy? But no.
Right. That's right. They claim to not be people looking for drama publicly, but privately, it's all about the drama for them.
Oh,
and anybody at any time can reach out to you and me privately.
Yeah.
And we will have an honest discussion with them with no hard feelings. If they disagree with our position on certain things, there's no harm in that. And they know that. But when they make decisions to deal with things in a drama way, that's their choice, not ours.
Yeah.
And you and I have dealt with that shit for years now. It doesn't seem to end.
No, it doesn't. Hey, at least the death threats have stopped.
Yeah.
On that one. That's a good thing. All right. So let's get to our top story for today, Mike, if we can. We're talking about the Coast Guard log. Let me get this up here. Here we go. Oh, wrong one. Let me move this down. Oh, my gosh. Shit, you son of a bitch. Here we go. Coast Guard logs reveal December drone swarms over New Jersey coast with some prosaic explanations provided. Now, this story comes to us from someone who we support, Christopher Sharp, over at the Liberation Times, and was also contributed to by, I believe, Kyle Warfel. And Christopher Sharp worked on this piece. So let's... And Jay, your link is already there. Not sure if you're going to be able to get to it, but I've pinned a link to your show at the top of the chat. So, okay, so let's get into it. So on the evening of December 8th, 2024, as you remember, we were deep in covering the drone situation that was happening in New Jersey. We started covering that around the 16th of November, almost a full month before this date. The Ocean County Sheriff's Office informed the U.S. Coast Guard that at Island Beach State Park, police had sighted approximately 50 drones, estimated at 4 feet long and flying approximately 60 miles an hour, coming from offshore. In the sector of Delaware Bay, the Coast Guard's local command center launched Station Bergnat Light, which is to the island beach, and took for a launch platform. So they got their boat, pictured here, out for everybody to go ahead and see. Now, the boat arrived on scene, spotted numerous drones overhead, followed them north to the area of responsibility line. On the return leg, they captured digital imagery. Now, no origin was determined, and a command post was initiated at Island Beach State Park, and that's actually somewhere where I believe Mike Morris had gone up there in that area, one of our dear friends, to go ahead and check out what was actually happening. Logs recorded 2 flashes of drone light from the east. Those are the Coast Guard's own words, drawn from a time-stamped radio logs and incident summaries documenting multiple unknown origin drones along the New Jersey coast in December of 2024. Now, crews followed them north, but their origin remained completely undetermined, Mike. The Coast Guard radio log reads like a running chase north along the Jersey coast. So if we listen to it, they have CG 47219 is heading north. Drones are following directly overhead. The coxswain is trying to avoid allowing the drone to be directly above them. Drone over stern, following vessel. One drone headed west to shore toward the base of the state police and governor's mansion. Drones in bearing of 065er. 09er drone, actually 9 drones spotted moving north and west from speeds of 50 to 60 knots and heights ranging from 300 to 1,000 feet. Next, 12 drones spotted, cluster of 6 heading north. Next, no drones are heading south, flying from south to north, headed offshore and towards the island. Recorded phone and video evidence of the last 2 drones spotted. So one entry stands apart. At 11:25 p.m., the crew reported, quote, one drone much larger than the rest, flying much lower, 200 to 300 feet. Boat was put into a low idle. Drone sounds like a jet engine. Now, 20 minutes later, drones are much larger, at least 2 larger drones. Now, however, an assessment provided on the 10th of December by the Department of Homeland Security Transportation Security Administration showed that the witnesses were in a high traffic pattern area for JFK International Airport. Mike, isn't it the same way whenever things are being seen? You'll hear officials come out and say, well, you're in a traffic area, but don't you think these guys know if something's going at 50 to 60 feet off the ground and it's going about, 50 miles an hour?
They should. They absolutely should. It has to do with air traffic safety.
Right. So
I can't imagine them not being aware of something like that.
Exactly. So now at that time of observation, there were aircraft ascending of about 20,000 feet down to about 10,000 feet until the intersecting glide slope into JFK. Due to their altitude, this is what the government is saying, these aircraft would likely not be expected to have their approach lights on, as they are typically activated or below 10,000 feet. That means only the green or red wingtips would be visible, along with multiple strobes along each wingtip, on the underbody of the fuselage, on the top of the vertical stabilizer, and the rear of the fuselage by the APU exhaust. Were these videos were the videos of 2B UAS operating over the ocean, we would expect to see the 17 aircraft to be visible in the background with their high-intensity navigation lights described above activated. Since we did not see additional aircraft beyond the drones, it furthers the assessment that the reported UAS in these videos are aircraft themselves. So here you've got seasoned guys who go out in the boats. They're out there all the time. They should know if something is 50 to 60 feet high versus 10,000 feet high, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. They'd have to be brain dead not to know the difference.
So maybe that one larger one they heard that had the sounds of like a jet engine, that could potentially be something that was being mistaken for a drone. But all those other drones that were out there were really probably not coming from the traditional aircraft.
No, of course not. They would know if it was.
Yeah.
You can tell traditional aircraft.
So here we go. We've got an overall area of the overall map that's been happening out there as we get into the story. Let's move on. In this map, which appears in the Department of Homeland Security assessment, caption, there are only 2 GA aircraft on this map, but there are 15 commercial aircraft we assessed that flew over the area during the described reporting window. Zooming in, you can observe slight derivations of their paths, but they are flying in an approach vector, so they are almost precisely stacked on top of each other. Now, witnesses describe mysterious incidents. Let's get into this. But not all of the activity fits the JFK traffic explanation. A follow-up email the next day from the sector of Delaware Bay Command Center recounting the December 8th events relayed the witnesses who stated that the drones, quote, appear to be shining what looked like holograms in the water that were red in color, although the source could not possibly identify the holograms or the type or numbers of the drones due to the distance. In yet a separate message, the Sector Delaware Bay officer had reported larger drones indistinguished their lights when approached by lifeboats. So if they had drones that were out there, Mike, I mean, if it was aircraft wouldn't be shutting down their lights when boats got in proximity to them, would they?
Oh, hell no. And that's common sense, if you ask me.
Yeah. Jay Albertson, take it.
Yeah, I investigated a case up in Mountaintop here in Pennsylvania with MUFON on a drone like that, and it was a bus size, and I'm like, there's no way that's a commercial drone. Like, it's bigger than a bus.
Yeah. And there have been sightings along the East Coast going for a while, including, I believe, was one with the USS Russell that was reported on by Dave Beatty. They had an entire, an attack group that was out there, and they had a Humvee outfitted with anti-drone technology. And they were being followed by two VW Beetle-size plasma orbs that eventually were able to come up and overtake the ship and fly directly over the bow of the ship.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, not a damn thing. And the ones over New Jersey were the size of SUVs, if you remember.
Yep. Andy, your hand's up, my friend.
Yeah, it just strikes me, I'm going to differentiate between the UK Coast Guard and US Coast Guard for all my American friends out there. So, UK Coast Guard are unarmed. They're basically a search and rescue taxi service at the moment. But that's another story. American Coast Guard are fully armed. They're basically, as all my American friends probably already know, they're basically a military unit. Their ships are fully armed, and that's what gets to me with this incident. All it would have taken was for somebody to say that we're conducting a research trial. If you see these things, they could have notified your Coast Guard to say, if we're doing this research trial or whatever. They could have given them some cover story. If you see these things, don't worry about it. It just seems really strange.
I mean, even Trump won't talk about this stuff now. He's not allowed to talk about it, which honestly, it comes back to, I'll take it from this. If it was a foreign adversary, we would have done a retaliatory attack or something to go back to shut this stuff down. We would have launched stuff potentially to take out where these things are coming from. I will stand on the record again in saying it was craft from the United States. They were coming on shore. There was something that they needed to find, because remember, a lot of these drones that were coming in just weren't approaching the airport. They were moving back and forth in grid patterns, like they're searching for something, which is similar to what we were seeing, I think it was back in 2019, Mike, when we had the drone situation happening over the America West and Northwest.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If it's adversarial, countries, then I'm sorry, all your tax dollars are wasted. You guys are screwed for all the money you put in. But it's still very random. It's why not give a cover story? People would have accepted that. We know how sheeple are. The vast majority of the your country's people and my country's people are sheeple. They'll look up at the sky for 2 minutes. We know what that is, and then they'll go back to looking at their phones. Yeah, it's just a very strange.
Delta Echo.
It's just really strange.
Delta Echo. I can do this. Who has an icon that says Starfleet Command, United Federation of Planets. I love it. I agree, Thomas Fessler. They were looking for something, and they clearly were. You're right on it. Jay, go ahead.
I was going to say that I heard a rumor that there was some kind of spent uranium that was going to the New Jersey port, that the port master had found out that the actual container was empty when it got there.
Oh, wow. I hadn't heard that one, but that explains the whole thing of a fear of potential nuclear material that came in. They were flying stuff to go ahead and sniff it because, remember, not that long away, about a month or so away from that, month and a half away from it, was the inauguration of the president. And what a better way for some people to inaugurate the new president except to blow him in Washington, D.C. off the map.
I mean, and yeah, that's what I heard, though, was that it was spent uranium rods from different nuclear factories that were trying to get to the port. We were going to ship them somewhere to get disposed of properly. And when they got to the port, they opened it up to see if and everything was gone in it.
Wow. That's a really interesting piece we've never heard before, but it ties together a lot of the things we've been looking at, trying to figure out what could be the case that they have so many out there every single night. I guess Delta Echo, you're calling a broken arrow, but it's almost kind of like the materials required to create that broken arrow had been lost. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Insightful information. So now back to the story. Last night, this is coming out from in a separate message from the Sector Delaware Bay officer reported larger drones extinguishing their lights when approached by lifeboats. Let's get into this one. Here we go. Last night, we received a report of a drone swarm off of Barnegat, New Jersey. When our crews went out to investigate, they observed about 50 drones, including some larger ones about 8 feet, that extinguished their bright lights when approached by our 47 MLB, which is a motor lifeboat. I was curious if you guys have experienced this before or heard another sector unit experiencing this. So even if these things were at 10,000 feet, you've got people calling out about how big they were. Out of 50, they had, some of them were larger ones, which you could explain those as potentially being planes, but a lot of the other ones there's no true explanation for. Now, in a separate case opened on December 12th, following on a tip of 15 drones that were, quote, possibly launching from the vessel DNS Express off Seaside Heights in Point Pleasant. The Coast Guard sent a 47-foot rescue boat from Station Mascoan to check the area and ask the nearby boat crews if they had seen any drones or a launch point. All vessels queried reported no seeing of any drones or suspicious activity, and of course the case was closed. Now, in another incident on December 12th, a fisherman near the south end of Island Beach State Park, North Jetty, reported seeing 4 to 6 suspected drones that appear to be rotary with blinking red, green, and white lights. And in response, the Coast Guard searched for a launch point but suffered a port engine casualty and returned to base. No suspicious activity was confirmed, and the case is closed. Now, if you remember, back at the time when the current president, who's now saying, I can't talk about it, Trump told us from Mar-a-Lago that the military knows where these things are coming from. The president knows where these things are coming from, and the American people deserve the truth. Right, Mike?
That's exactly what he said, Thomas, during his campaign. And he said,
no, this is after the campaign, after he won. This is before he took office, but continue. Sorry for butting in.
No, it was right. It was right before he took office. It was during his campaign. And he said that it's not right that the current administration, meaning the Biden administration, was not being truthful with the American people. He then said that the first day he's in office, he is going to reveal the truth. Yeah. But we saw that it never worked out that way.
What we got, Mike, was a bullshit answer from the press secretary saying that we're from the FAA, but when in follow-up interviews directly with Trump, he stammered. And his voice got a little soft, and he kind of said, I can't talk. What they said I can't talk about it or something to that extent.
Yeah, he can't talk about it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he said. So, yeah, that's the exact opposite of what he had said publicly prior to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not a good sign, I got to tell you.
Yep. Well, don't forget, weren't there some major airports that were shut down by these drones several times?
Yes, they shut down LaGuardia Airport in New York City. They shut down John F. Kennedy Airport.
And there was a hospital that had a chopper coming in for a patient, and they had to abort because drones were in the area and it wasn't safe.
Yeah, there was an emergency medical transport in New Jersey. They had a patient, and they had to divert the flight because of the drones that were interfering with flight safety.
Yeah.
And we covered that. So, yeah, this seems to be what these drones were. Trump said there's no cause for alarm, not to worry about it, move along. But obviously, we know that's not true.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, my
It's just
friend. Let me take this comment down. Sorry, I left it on there for too long. Let's get on back onto the story, which we're almost through here. On the 14th of December, there was an initial statement that came from Emergency Management and Force Readiness from Sector Delaware Bay, provided a summary of drone activity over Atlantic City on the night of December 13th, including a large drone that had a, quote, helicopter-shaped body with a fixed-wing structure over the body. Smaller drones were described as Typhoon style and were turning off their lights on and off while continuing to fly. Now, according to BM1 Freeman, a Coast Guard petty officer, the, quote, sedan-sized drone with two bright headlights flew within 100 feet of the stone wall, skimming between 2.5 to 3.5 feet above the water. Moments later, BM Freeman described seeing two sedan-sized drones and 4 small drones. And if you're looking at that, just have to say those aren't commercial airliners. Period.
Oh, hell no. No, not at all. Not one bit.
Yep.
But we're told that they are research drones that are registered with the FAA. There is no cause for alarm. Well,
yeah.
That's not the truth.
Yeah.
And we know that. So, yeah, this is, it's funny how it doesn't matter if we're talking about Democrats or Republicans. Either side of the aisle, whoever seems to be in power, they decide for one reason or another not to tell the public the truth about anything. Not drones, not UAP, none of it.
Yep.
It's unfortunate, but that seems to be where we're at. Maybe Elon has the right idea. He wants to create a third political party. Maybe it's about time that there's some sort of a change, because the current one doesn't seem to work.
Because there's a lot of people who don't agree with the far right, and there's a ton of people who don't agree with the far left. What happened to the people who were in the center?
Right, like you and me.
That used to be the Democrats, but they're not in the center. They're far left.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So the summary continued. The drones flew towards the Bergantine Bridge and the back bay, making occasional trips through the inlet and turning around, which again is something that regular planes wouldn't do. I wanted to finish that off before we had Andy. You have your hand raised, and then Enoch. Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. I think for you Americans, potentially, we've got it here. It's a crapshoot politically, but we do have more than one party, or even two parties. We're fairly blessed that we have about half a dozen. A lot of them don't necessarily. I don't agree with personally, but we have that right to cast your cross in that vote box against whoever you want. But and I've kind of lost my track now, but hey.
That's fine, my friend, yeah. But when you had the drones going in the United Kingdom, it looks more than not at these days that the drones that were being seen over Lakenheath and all the other military bases were potentially of Russian origin, performing reconnaissance on those sites. Well,
it seems like it. I don't really know why they need to get a drone up. You're highlighting our friend Daryl, who was filming over there. You only have to go by as a plane spotter. You don't. They never ever come up and ask you. I've done plane spotting on military bases before. They don't come up and say, "Oh, who are you? What are you doing here?" I had it once. I took a former
No, that's usually
colleague,
left for the council if someone's walking around your neighborhoods with a camera.
Yeah, but if we're a military base here in the UK, I've done it. I've done plane spotting. I used to cycle to an air base when I was a child at school. But I took a former work colleague, and he was there filming on a really old camcorder I had. We had a Sea King helicopter, which is comparative to one of your Sikorskis. And it flew and it turned on to us, and we were the only ones there. And they dipped the nose flashlights, and the two pilots were in there waving at us. That was the only interaction we had with anybody. You don't need to go and highlight yourself by throwing a drone up in the air. You can go and watch with a pair of binoculars. Nobody bats an eyelid. So,
I got you, Andy. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Just to finish this off, and then we'll get to Enoch. So in January of 2025, we just talked about this earlier, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt downplayed reports of mystery drones, including those observed by near sensitive military installations in New Jersey, claiming they were simply research drones approved by the FAA. Research drones researching what? Missing nuclear material? I think so. Enoch, go ahead, my friend.
All right, welcome. Without disclosing again where I live, but you guys know, about 800 miles or so from the East Coast of America. And in late December, early January, my friend came down from the UK. He used to be my best friend here. He doesn't believe in aliens or UFOs. And he used to get angry when I would talk to him about that stuff. But he came down. This was around the time when the drone flap was occurring in America. And I was so excited to tell him about it because I thought this will convince him that UFOs are real. It's still, of course, he was skeptical. But then he was here for 2 weeks. So he called me up one night and said, hey, you have to come see this. And he had recorded himself on his own phone, and he showed it to me. In my country, there are these giant white lights up in the sky, like circular, and they were darting around and doing the weirdest maneuvers.
Right.
Like even from one side of the horizon to the other, like in a few seconds, it's like flick, flick, and they would stop. And then it was the weirdest thing. And he said he didn't know what to make of it. And I felt like telling him, well, if that doesn't convince you UFOs are real, I don't know what will. But I just wanted to throw that out there because that took place during the same, drone thing in New York, New Jersey, and all of that. I am right off the East Coast, so maybe it was connected, but I just want to throw that in there for food for thought.
Yeah.
So whatever they were doing in America, this couldn't be a coincidence. It must have occurred, in relation to that. But just throwing that one out there.
Yeah, thank you, Enoch. I appreciate that. Now, responding to one of our friends in the chat on this one from Scott, where did his message go? Scott Jensen wanted me to go ahead and can you play the video I sent you, please, Thomas? So Scott sent this in. He's got a, let me see if I don't know if I'll be able to download this. Probably not. X's like that. No, I'm not going to be able to download this because it was sent in this way. We've got a drone or something he saw in the sky. He's going to bring out a green laser, go around it, and you're going to see this thing kind of do a blip response to what he's doing, kind of saying this is something more than just a potential plane or something in the sky. Let's play it. Here we go. So there he goes, putting it around it. Goes and swings around. There you go. There's the blip. That blip, though, I saw was something more of just the camera going to focus. But what he was kind of showing us, the craft was there, I believe. And after he goes and circles around it, the craft then responds and moves up and out of the way, away from where he was just shining that particular light. So thank you for sharing that, Scott. It's always interesting to see stuff like this and to share it with our audience. All right, Mike, where are we at? I need to go back and figure out what the heck I said we were going to talk about today.
Oh, yeah. It's usually the case. But that's.
I know. I just want to make sure we're talking about everything. See, no UFO news update. We've got the stuff about the New Jersey drone. Oh, yeah, we're heading over back to suspicious observers, talking about the disaster cycle and the interaction between the NHI or aliens, whatever you want to call it, and our civilization. So first, we've got a video we're going to play from Ben with regards to the disaster cycle that's coming. And then we're going to play one of his asides that he gets into talking about why he actually thinks the non-human intelligence will be here. And it's two great pieces. We're a media partner with Ben. It's one of the things that we covered, I think, a couple weeks ago, and I was during the week, so it wasn't a weekend story. So I thought this would be a great thing to go ahead and actually bring out. So let me go ahead and find, where are my videos? There we go. And I want to get to, we're going to play the advanced concepts of the disaster cycle first. Let me get these other video windows out of the way. Let's get this in here. Again, live video, friends. Live production. That's where it's at. Otherwise, I'll be stuck editing this shit for hours and days and try and get it there. And I'd rather be moving on to the next thing, right, Mike?
Right. Absolutely, Thomas.
Okay, so let's get to this one. Here we go. And I'll throw my stuff up. Where's the logo? Let's get to it. Okay, here we go. This is the first one, calling the disaster cycle, advanced concepts.
Good evening, folks. A lot of you have been asking for this one. We're going to go over the major differences between the 6,000 and 12,000 year cycles of the catastrophe. What does the Earth do in each? What does the Sun do? And what about the galactic environment that makes it so? Perhaps the most important question is when the solar micronova happens and why. And then, conversely, what happens during the other cycle, the half cycle, and what are its impacts? Which one can burn with the flash of light itself? While both types of cycles on the 6,000 and 12,000 year marks would spell the end of an electrified world, sending us back to the Stone Age, taking out satellites, airplanes, power grids, and critical infrastructure. Only one of them, however, makes the Earth turn over. While both cause tremendous floods, only one is capable of impacting the entire world at continental scales, with massive tsunamis washing from one side to the other. To begin, the answer to all of these points is the galactic magnetic field. Not the
case in point, though, Mike. Lou Elizondo, he has his new bar called Bombshells, and where he lives.
Bombshells American Cantina.
Yeah,
in
but they're
Wyoming.
about 800 feet below a mile. So even if where Lou is, you thought it was safe, if the waves are big enough, you want to be over a place that's over a mile high to protect yourself, based on what we know.
Right.
So he's in a safe place, but not safe enough. Let's continue.
No.
Colloidal component, but the radial field threading the disk, and their undulations housed within the galactic current sheet. Now, if this is unfamiliar, you really need to do the homework. It's listed right.
Okay, so the galactic current sheet, for people who may not be aware of it, is if this is the center of our galaxy, and this is a toroidal field creating the negative and positive energy above and below the black hole, what it creates is this wavy kind of a structure that extends out. Let me get myself on here. Away from the center of the galaxy, and it gives you this kind of a waveform that extends out, and that's a magnetic field. And this is something that just isn't there for prettiness. This is something that affects every single planet, every single star that you're going through it, especially when our star, when it's moving along, is moving up and down and up and down through these different structures, depending on where the curves are, and that affects and actually ties into a disaster cycle that hits our planet every 6,000 years. There's a 6,000 year, there's a 12,000 year, and a 24,000 year cycle of every single time. If you look back at the long history of the planet, it ties to what's going on from the center of our galaxy. Let's continue.
Below the video in the description box. But for those keeping up with class, you know this is the reason for the season, the Earth disaster cycle. But how does our place within it really matter? Well, first, let's do this a bit graphically. Let's put up a sine wave here to show the galactic current sheet, and it's moving outward from the galactic center, hitting our solar system every 12,000 years. We are at the black line there. Now, while there is a bit of up and down to the sun over millions of years throughout the galaxy, it is minuscule by comparison to the sheet, and it basically takes forever. So I don't care which way you picture the sheet moving, the sine wave, to the left or to the right, as long as you can see how it's crossing the black line, where we can imagine our solar system, at equidistant marks. Now let's remember, the galactic current sheet contains the magnetic reversal point, which is where there is a null, a magnetic 0 point. At the exact crossing moment, we will be subject to zero galactic magnetism. It is also the dusty plasma density maximum, as the galactic sheet is acting like an electrostatic Swiffer duster sweeping through the galaxy. So now, let's go ahead and put the impacts to the galactic current sheet on here. Those are at the red stars, 12,000 years apart, marking when our solar system is taking the impact from the galactic current sheet, taking the magnetic reversal and the galactic 0 null point, while also taking the dust and plasma density maximum. The magnetic null reduces luminosity and the solar wind of our star, allowing that extra dust and plasma to accumulate at the sun, and when we come out of the sheet, they reignite and blast off that shell of material in what we call the solar micronova. The induction from that event cooks the partially melted layer between the crust and mantle, which is locking them together right now, and when it melts, the crust is unlocked and free to turn and tilt and reorient. So the micronova and Earth tilt, those happen on the 12,000-year cycle. So then what is the 6,000-year cycle? That would be these green dots, where we still get a magnetic excursion at Earth, but we don't tilt, and there are no nova-level isotopes in those sediment layers like there are at the 12,000-year scale. But let's think about this. If the sine wave, the galactic current sheet, is the magnetic...
And just to say where we're at now, we're overdue for the 12,000-year cycle. Just saying.
0 point. When do we endure peak galactic magnetic force? Yep, right in the middle, when we are at the furthest from the sheet, every 6,000 years. This is also the moment when we get closer to the next sheet crossing as opposed to being closer to the one that just hit us before, which means that at these 6,000 year marks, the upcoming sheet has more of an impact on our solar system than the previous one. And so that shift where a push becomes a pull or a pull becomes a push happens at peak galactic magnetic force. So there's no dusty plasma to build up on the sun in this one. The sun's electrodynamic activity isn't short-circuited by the galactic magnetic reversal on the 6,000-year half-cycle. In fact, it is maximized by that peak galactic field exposure. This amping up of activity is the opposite of a micronova buildup, which results from low activity, and it results in the 6,000-year superflare of about X1000. It's been confirmed many times in the peer-reviewed literature, and it really is that simple. Zero galactic magnetism versus peak galactic magnetism. No surprise, they both impact Earth's magnetism, but they have opposing impacts on the sun. So as simply as it can be stated, the 12,000-year event is the galactic magnetic reversal, the 0 point, creating the solar micronova, which is how you get the flash burning, by the way. It has the solar system magnetic shift and the major geomagnetic excursion and extinction level event. The 6,000-year event is still pretty bad, just not quite as bad as the 12,000-year one. Peak galactic field exposure, X1000 superflare, probably some solar system impacts too, but at least certainly the minor excursion in Earth's geologic record, and because the protons from the X1000 superflare are following the cusp, they superheat the polar ice and cause a Heinrich event, which causes widespread floods and then chills the globe. You may need to watch this again. Went kind of quickly, but this is it. This is the entire difference between the 6,000 and 12,000 year events. What happens and why. I'll see you in the morning for the Daily Show. Be safe, everyone.
So, Mike, this was a primer we put. I got from Suspicious Observers to go ahead and let people know about the 6,000 and 12,000 year disaster cycle. We're currently at the 12,000 year point, going back to the last time when this potentially happened was about the time of the Younger Dryas. Right. So
no, it's Dr. Ben Davidson put some really good information out there.
Oh, yeah. So now coming into this has been coming and talking about, well, yeah, aliens are probably here. And if they are, is because you've got this new disaster cycle about ready to hit in. This is your last chance to go ahead and get your samples of what's going on Earth before everything gets shaken up yet again. And it's probably also the reason why you have so many of the world elite going ahead and building bunkers inside of mountains.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, we covered that.
Oh, yeah. Let's play this next one. Here we go. Let's have fun.
Folks, we are going to talk about something.
Oh, no. Is this one really quiet? Give me a second here. I have to make sure that this one's going to be loud enough.
The question I get a lot, I generally consider it to be outside of the realm of what I focus on, but it's important enough to enough of you, and it's not like it's not important at all to me, so I guess we'll talk about it. And as the title of the video suggests, we're going to be talking about aliens, extraterrestrials, etc. when it comes to Earth's disaster cycle. Now, two prefacing things. One, we're not going to be talking about, is it aliens or is it angels and demons? Is it aliens that flew here from some other star, or are they interdimensional? That's a valid discussion, no doubt, but that's not the discussion we're going to have today. what we're going to be talking about today is where does this whole growing ET thing, whether it's the news about it or whether it's the increased sightings of UFOs, things like that, how does that play into the disaster cycle? And you might be thinking, aren't these two separate topics? They're two separate topics in the way that the sun and the earth are two separate topics, but obviously we can't separate those when we're talking about physics and solar forcing of different terrestrial phenomenon, weather, earthquakes, human health events, things like that. And in terms of the disaster cycle, we have spent a considerable amount of time tying in things that would seem to be unrelated, but absolutely are related. The best example I can think of is the stories of mythology or the stories of religion lending themselves shockingly well to the disaster cycle story itself. The one I am most familiar with is the Bible. We've got half of Isaiah talking about this. We've got Revelation talking about, and the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and the power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. We've got the book of Enoch, which was taken out of the Bible. I don't think that should have happened, but chapter 65, and Noah saw the earth turned over and knew its destruction was near. Not to mention all the Vedic stories, Norse mythology. It's everywhere, all right? But also everywhere is this discussion of the gods, people from the sky, the sky people, or the people from under the ground. There's quite a bit of that too, actually, more than I would have expected. But obviously those things can be brought into the disaster cycle discussion. But we've also been talking about how things like COVID and the vaccine, the transgender craze that's going on right now, the promotion of Satanism and degeneracy, and the other side of that coin, the tearing down of tradition, moral values, God in general. These things are misdirections, they're distractions, and they also doubly serve when it comes to things like insisting everything going on with the climate is our fault. While they are distracting and while they are misdirecting, they certainly also want to turn us against each other, keep us focused on very human, terrestrial things, while they steal our freedom, steal our resources, steal power, things like that. And so all of these things, we must have brought in 8 or 9 different topics to the disaster cycle, so why not the extraterrestrial topic as well? So whether we are some kind of experiment, whether we are a nursery, whether we are a galactic school
or a farm
where souls and or species can learn here on our planet, all of those very easily lend themselves to both someone keeping an eye on us.
Mike, I have to do this interrupt. We have a breaking UFO news alert coming in from UAP James. Just happened 2 hours ago. I just saw this on my Twitter feed for the show. Representative Tim Burchett has introduced whistleblower legislation to protect federal personnel for disclosing the use of taxpayer money to evaluate UAP material. H.R. 5060 is also co-sponsored by Anna Polina Luna. So this is new. This is in addition to what's coming forward for the National Defense Authorization Act. And Tim Burchett is, although he's been quiet, he is not standing down.
Well, the Whistleblower Protection Act that he originally tried to introduce, one page of it, that got shut down pretty quickly. I hope that's not the case now, because they really do need to have that whistleblower protections on the law books for people to come forward. So, yeah, that's a good thing, Thomas.
Yeah, I'm trying to find
some success with that.
If I can go ahead and find the actual law, I will bring it up. But either way, it's good to see Tim Burchett is not standing down. He is working in the off in the aisles on this. Because remember, Tim Burchett was rumored to have been the chairman of the the task force for the declassification of national secrets. But Anna Polina put her foot down or something else, and she wouldn't give up, and that's why she's got it. And Tim, who really deserved it, should have had that role.
Oh, I think so too, because everything that she's done so far to date on the task force has been disorganized, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Tim was running it, it would have accomplished a lot of good. So she prevented that from happening,
yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Andy W., go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a worry again that it's going to get slapped down. You know, Tim's been doing a heck of a job, and I agree with Mike. I'm not sure that Luna was the correct choice for all of this, but yeah, I don't hold any high hopes for this getting passed at all.
Well, all we can do is hope at this point and see where it's going to potentially take us. We love Tim Burchett and everything, so he seems to have been gagged for whatever reason, or taken out of the if you want to call it, Mike. He's been actually been ostracized from different areas of Congress because he won't keep his mouth shut either. He's like our he's our alma mater in Congress.
Yeah, he won't be censored. They have no control over him like they do all of the other members of Congress, and they don't like that.
No.
He makes them very uncomfortable for good reason. He doesn't require their funding to get elected. He's not dependent on them for his job, unlike most of the other members of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So good for Tim.
And I just have to say, the website from Congress sucks. I'm trying to find a place to get to the actual language of the bill, and it's not there yet. Well, maybe it will show up. So let's get back to this thing from Ben. Sorry to interrupt everybody on this, but I thought it was news to go ahead and get it going. Here we go.
And two, wanting to be there for observational purposes during this cyclical disaster of Earth, and also to make sure that their colony school experiment doesn't just end entirely. The amount of help that our ancestors proclaim they got from these sky people or these gods, whatever you want to call them. I don't care if you want to call them angels, demons. Again, that's not what we're talking about here today. It makes sense that they've been here. They've always been here. They've been watching. They've been testing and studying, helping maybe more than one species. Maybe there's a completely different species that came in and they're the ones doing the abductions. I'm trying hard not to make a probing joke right now. The point is that this event, it's happened every 6,000 years, of course, at a much worse level. Every 12,000 years. We are at the 12,000 year cycle mark right now. It not only makes sense that they're here, that they're monitoring, that they've been here for a while, but that they would want to be here specifically for what's happening on the planet right now and for what's about to happen to the planet right now. I imagine it's visually spectacular when the sun does what it's going to do. I imagine that they want to understand a lot of the processes and how that's working. Understand that they probably want to understand why we're behaving the way that we're behaving right now after basically moving in a pretty linear fashion towards more civility, less degeneracy, more advancement, etc., etc. All of a sudden, we find ourselves becoming dumber, more emotionally unstable, basically devolving back to trying to figure out what our pronouns are. It's, I mean, could you imagine watching a species go through what we're going through right now and knowing what's about to happen with the sun and the earth? No part of what's happening right now on the ET realm sort of shocks me. And in fact, it doesn't shock you either. How many times have, whether it's, a member of the current administration or even in the past administration when they were basically saying, yep, these are non-human craft, these are this, Pentagon hearings, congressional hearings, nobody cared. Nobody freaked out. That's where we are. And, I have to imagine that whether this place is a nursery, an experiment, a school, or a civilization prison, there's no part of there's no option where their presence doesn't make sense. Literally none of the options where it doesn't make sense. I think that there's a lot of obfuscation and confusion right now because a lot of the UFOs that we are seeing, they're probably us. Probably our government or the Chinese government, things like that. Whether you want to look at how long they have had crashed technology, how long they have had virtually unfettered access to certain physics theories due to classification, whether you're looking at the patent office. I mean, the U.S. Navy has an incredible plasma universe anti-gravity patent. It's amazing. I've read it, and the math checks out. Now, I haven't built one and tried it. There's some things in there that I can't exactly get my hands on, and some other things in there I can't afford. But the math and the science is not above me. This thing looks legitimate. And it doesn't...
And I believe, Mike, he's talking about the patents from Salvatore Pais.
Yes, he is. And we also covered that when it first came out as well. So, yeah, the government has technology that they don't want the public to know about.
And even when they've done some testing of his technology or of his patents, for that matter, they only went so as far to get 50% of the way there and said it failed, meaning there was a rotation element to it, but there was also a vibration. They only tested the rotation and and they didn't introduce the vibration, so they came back and said it failed, it didn't work. Well, if they had gone through the entirety of what was defined, they may have found something, but for some reason, the information the public was given, it only got halfway. So you just have to wonder, did they try to get beyond that and just keep that information from the public?
They keep everything from the public, Thomas. You and I know that.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Seem all that implausible when you realize the ubiquity of things like Vimanas or other flying machines in the past. And the notion that we just figured all this stuff out and just learned how to do it. It's not impossible, but it makes a lot more sense if we had help. Which is another great reason why they would be here. They want to be here to make sure that when this is all said and done, those who survived the cosmic Super Bowl, that week of hell, can rebuild and do this. I don't put that past them at all. Most of you know that my childhood best friend, Adrian D'Amico, Suspect Sky, he pretty much thinks they're all evil and all bad. And I know I'm going to get a text message or a phone call about this video at some point where he's going to remind me again of how much he disagrees with me on this. And I will admit, he's a much bigger UFO, UAP, alien, ET, he's a much bigger expert on all of that than I am. I'm imagining many of you are a much bigger expert on all of that than I am.
Yes, we are.
But I still find it difficult to just discount the idea that throughout history, these sky people have been trying to help. Yeah,
I agree with his friend Adrian D'Amico.
It just makes sense.
I think when they reveal themselves, we're going to be in for one hell of a fight. They're not here to help anybody.
No. When we've had natural disasters, have they stopped them or helped the people? When we've had genocides going on, have they stopped the humans from those things going on? No. When we've had world wars going on and people are dying, do they intervene? No. When there's mass famines going on, do they stop anything? No, they don't. But it's almost like, Mike, in the opportunities they could have, and there's all these deaths, maybe they're capitalizing on that. And just think about it. If they're not stopping it, maybe there's a reason for it.
Maybe they're benefiting from it in some way.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if they feed on our consciousness and there's something that's already releasing its consciousness on a regular basis, why stop it? More food.
That's true. No, you're right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
But
Scott
when
Jensen,
that day
though.
comes,
Yeah.
I will be with the resistance, fighting against it. Don't roll over. We don't roll over for anybody.
Yes.
So, not
Scott
even
Jensen, you should go ahead and try the Black Vault toy store. You may find what you're looking for.
them.
Let's continue. Here we go.
So, from that perspective, how does ETs, interdimensional beings, aliens and demons, and by the way, if it's aliens and demons, then it so purely fits into Earth disaster cycle, I shouldn't even have to go into that one. When you're talking about this planet, and there's just way too many weird coincidences about this planet. Like, okay, everybody knows the moon happens to be the perfect distance away from the Earth so that it perfectly matches the size of the sun for an eclipse, but also it takes the moon 28 days to go around the Earth, and that's how long it takes the sun to do one rotation. There's like 20 or 30 of those, like, wait a minute, really? That's a heck of a coincidence. There's like 20 or 30 of those surrounding our planet, and each one of them is so off the charts low in probability that it really makes you look at where we are in the cosmos and say, okay, either this place was designed for this nursery, school, growing process that this planet is, or they spent a long time trying to find this place in the galaxy so that they could use it for that purpose. I don't know if this is the kind of answer that those of you who repeatedly ask me about the ET thing and how it ties into this, I don't know if this was the answer that you're looking for. But let me summarize just by saying, I think they've been here. I think they're here now. I think a lot of what we are seeing is actually our human technology. I think a lot of the publicly controlled discussion on this is a misdirection, a limited hangout, a psyop. And I do think that they want to be here because they know what's about to happen to this planet, to our whole solar system. And they want to be here specifically for the aftermath. And I do believe, I'm so sorry, Adrian, I'm going to say it again, I do believe that they want to help the survivors afterwards. I don't see, if you are fairly well versed on the ancient civilization topic, especially if you get into their claims about the gods or the people who came down from the sky who helped them, and the notion that there are lost civilizations, that humans have risen and fallen, that we didn't start all this just 6,000 years ago in Sumer. If you're well versed on that, I don't see how you couldn't at least partially agree with what I'm saying here about the intentions of at least some, okay, maybe there are some bad aliens. But if you are well versed on all those things I just mentioned, it would be hard for me to imagine you just throwing in the trash my hypothesis that they're here now, they've been here, they're going to be here, they want to be here for this event, and they want to help the survivors, just as our ancestors from long ago proclaimed was done for them. Anyway, I'm sorry for ignoring this specific topic for so long, especially because I very clearly made efforts to include religion, to include culture and politics and economics and all these other crazy things of clown world to show that these are actually all one thing. These are all tied together. And I admit, I just straight up ignored the alien topic when I was going outside of the disaster cycle, pure physics. But no longer, and now that is my opinion. It is just my opinion. I have zero facts or evidence to back that up. But I do think it's well-founded, and it's not the worst hypothesis. I would love to know what you agree with, what you disagree with, and anything else you have to say on the topic of aliens and Earth's disaster cycle down down there in the comments. And
There we go. Thank you, Ben, for letting us cover this again. Mike, I have some breaking UFO news again. Oh, this one's really interesting. Oh, yeah. All right, where in the hell are we? What's going on? Oh, yeah, disclosure. Everything is fine. But, Mike, John Stewart just posted this. Actually, let's get to the post, but that was reposted by Joe Maguria over on X. Let's see if I can get us next to each other and we can go ahead and cover this one. Move this over a little bit, Mike. You're going to love it, this one. Apparently, David Grush came forward to distract all of us from John Stewart and what he had to say. As Joe Maguria says, spell it out, delusion. So, and that's in Joe's opinion. So let's get into the actual tweet from John Stewart, Illinois. Wow, they are now telling me that David Grush, the man who came forward only 6 weeks after I went to congressional offices with my Aquarius report, is controlling the disclosure and is still working for Intel. Well, if true, my words last year were prophetic. And look at this, Mike. They're trying to go ahead and tag Red Panda Koala and Disclosure tonight. I guess I do have another channel over a Disclosure tonight. Not sure if that's me, but yeah, unfortunately, he did tag the wrong person. So let's play this little clip of John Stewart saying that David Grush came out to block what he disclosed to Congress. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, it's bullshit.
Oh, I know, but we gotta let's cover it. Here we go, folks. I cannot make this stuff up. We are here to cover both sides of the story, so here we go.
None of this is making sense. Mm-hmm. None of this is making sense. And all of a sudden, when I'm calling congressmen and going to their offices about an alien retention program, all of a sudden David Grush shows up. I'm just saying, is that coincidence? Maybe. Or was it before this, crazy guy from Chicago gets really attraction? Let's
wait a minute. I'm from the Chicago suburbs. Don't call me a crazy guy. Wait a minute. I guess he is.
Roll out this Grush guy. I believe that.
Let's give a controlled face to the narrative.
Well, of course, because, and again, I'm not saying that the government is on the internet following me, but I'm saying when I started going to congressmen's offices, handing the still photos and the investigation, that must have been the beep, beep, like what, because those phones are monitored and that telecommunication has been monitored and whatnot. And I think that did somehow, in my opinion, not fact, prompt, the Grush coming forward, who said the exact same thing that I told congressmen and the New York Times. The government has had an alien retention and interrogation program. And David Grush said...
No, he didn't say there was an alien, what do you call it? Interrogation. No, right, Mike?
Never.
Nope. Okay. This is why
know.
We've been asked many times to have him on the channel. I think we kind of walked away from it, didn't we, Mike?
Oh, many times, politely and diplomatically, we did.
We tried.
Because we don't entertain complete and total horse shit, and we're not going to put it out there for the audience. They might accidentally believe some of that to be true. So, No, we would never do that. If he's delusional. Maguria is right.
Yeah.
Joe Merger.
Yeah. Here, let's play this. We got 15 seconds left.
That without naming the facility names and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I find that very suspect that when the 6-month window, when I started going to congressmen's offices and emailing, that Grush comes forward. Call it what you want. I don't know. That's my opinion.
But I have to bring this up, Mike. As we talked at the start of the show, Grush came forward, and we knew about him a year and a half before he actually was even announced. So to say that Grush came out and was talking to these people, was there to go ahead and stalwart him, no. Grush was on his own timeline that was completely different from what he was trying to accomplish with his shoulder pads.
Right. And Grush was working in an SAP with Lou, not our friend John Stewart. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Doesn't make sense. He wasn't working for the government. He wasn't working in an SAP program. he had no direct knowledge of anything the government was up to, but David Grush did. So, again, like Joe Mergia said, he's delusional.
Yeah. Well, good news for those people who like the Aurora Borealis. We just got an M4.7 that went off, and we're going to be having a CME coming our way. Let me see if I can get this up here again. There we go. That's projected to hit us on Monday, Memorial Day. So there's some interesting animations going on. It was mid-disc, directly pointing towards Earth. Is that the only two I've got on that? Oh, yeah. And by the way, Midwest, get ready for a giant cold bomb that's going to be coming down. And it could potentially, Mike, be killing a lot of the wheat crops that are in the Midwest at this point, because they're going to be dropping down. They're going to have a hard frost next week when this bomb cyclone comes down from up north.
That doesn't sound good to me, Thomas.
No, it doesn't. Ride the wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here's the next thing. Scientists have long and studiously avoided claiming that other animals have language. Now, using the power of AI, Mike, they are on the verge of deciphering one to say that, oh my God, we are the most advanced creatures on the earth. We're the only one with consciousness, the only one with a spirit, if you want to call it. But dolphins may be far more advanced than humans are, and they're about to be able to create a system for communicating with them. So to say that Earth was created just for humans and us to go ahead and enjoy and destroy, there may be more advanced animals who have been out there for a much longer time.
Yeah, maybe. That's possible.
Yeah.
But you and I have talked about how AI is not accurate, is not correct,
Yeah.
and if they're solely depending on that, I really have a lot of strong doubts about what their conclusions are.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh, God, yeah. It's one of those things we just have to look at. Okay, so a lot of the conversations out and everywhere is just about this. Is there anything else we can go ahead and cover here that's amazing things besides robots making hot dogs? But
Nice.
Those aren't the hot dogs we're all looking for them to make, is it? Those aren't what the robots do. They do make hot dogs, but not the kind that go in a bun.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Elon wants to provide robots, personal robot, that is a humanoid in height and will function like another person for the cheap price of $25,000. If we have that with AI, I guarantee you people are going to be obsessed.
Yeah.
We think we're obsessed with our phones now. This is more than a phone. Not only can it show you porn, can actually jerk you off. So, yeah, Elon's going to have a big hit with that.
It's no longer about watching it. It's about getting into it, my friend.
You got it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so if we get into the next one, my God, look at that. There are protests going all across England, and they're showing the old England flag, something that they're saying that newcomers or whatever you want to call them, people who've come to the country illegally and they've been taken care of by the Labour government, see that as a threat. The people of England are doubling down and they're putting out the old flag. I absolutely love it. This is one of the protests that's going on out there. I support all of this kind of stuff, Mike. They deserve it.
Oh, you and I both. Yeah, they seem to like the Union Jack, but
Yeah.
these people got smart, and they're using the old English flag, and they don't like it very much.
No, they don't, apparently. I mean, they're covering themselves in the old Union Jack and the current flag for the United Kingdom. But you know what? It just shows a lot of times when you get people like this in government, it requires bringing together a large amount of people to go ahead and fight back and say no more. Could be the start of a revolution. You never know. And I love seeing people like this coming out and showing their pride and their country and their culture. And they don't want to see it dismantled and destroyed by people who are hell-bent on locking these people up in prison for saying things that they should have the rights to talk about. As King Bull says, yes, Starmer is a traitor. I'd have to completely agree.
Yeah, I would agree as well.
Yeah. This is a 2.5 minute clip. It's going to be going on. It's just like your average day folk getting out there and showing pride in their country, and that's what you need.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what they need. I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's for you, our friends in the United Kingdom. We love you, And our hearts are with you with the trials you're going through, and hopefully there is a light in the tunnel. Even that, God, who was it? Colin McGregor? He got enough signatures and everything doing. He's running for president of Ireland. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Ireland if he gets elected.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be a second civil war going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, this is just one of the clips that's out there. It's one of the stuff that popped up in my feed. And you know what? We're getting towards the end of the show, finding things we can go ahead and bring up. And we love everyone in the United Kingdom. I've had friends over there my entire career, going back, hell, before I was when I was 21, long time ago, if not younger. And when I was doing game designs for Atari and working with developers out of Merseyside, United Kingdom, in the Midlands, a crossover, and then into Ireland and such, in Dublin. And it's... I love you guys, and I'm sorry to see what you're going through, but, you know, where we go one, we go all. I know they use that for the Q thing, but that's kind of what we're seeing happen in the United Kingdom. And now to go after all the rape gangs that have been covered up by the government knowingly, by the ministers and other people that have been going there. Elon Musk has agreed to pay whatever he needs to take all these atrocities to court.
Good. They need support for what's going on over there.
Well, the Coin 405 said they removed the flags from YouTube and Windows emojis.
Really?
Why would they do that?
I have no idea. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, Player One, yeah. We talk after the show. Stop by. I'll talk about the good stuff. Eventually, I have to get rid of it. But that's only part of the stuff. The old good stuff is up in the attic. That's where I have the SNASM kits from PsyQ for Super Nintendo and for Genesis. I have Sega Game Gear development kits and a whole bunch of other stuff. I've got prototype games from the Atari 7800 on EPROMs that I got. They were final, but not quite final. So... got to have fun with the old game stuff. Let's see if there's anything else going on. Yes, apparently X has not gotten rid of the Union Jack, Mike. The original England flag is still there.
Well, I'm sure the British government is not too happy about that.
No, of course not. And you know what Elon's going to do?
Oh, yeah. Stick it right up their ass.
Thomas, I'll just kick in. It's the George Cross.
The George Cross, thank you.
Yeah, it's our
not
flag.
the Union Jack, it's a George Cross.
It's a mixture.
I love it, though. It's like from the Crusades days, right? Yeah, that's what we need. Oh, God, yeah. Let's see what else we've got.
Sometimes.
Oh, yeah, you better believe it, my friend. Let's get back to here. Is there anything else I can bring up? Let's see. Tim Ventura is talking about AI, warp drive physics, and matter of waves and the Windward Tribute right now on one of his APEC conferences. No, don't want to show that. We'll get into the other stuff about the trolls. There's a bunch of fun stuff coming along, but I think, Mike, we've hit everything. Is there anything that you can think that we missed here?
No, I think we had a good conversation.
I'm looking forward to clips from the show actually coming forward by the trolls that are out there.
Well, we'll see if they do.
Oh, you know they will.
To do it. Yeah, that's okay. We talked about some fun stuff, so good.
Oh, God, yeah.
Let them.
So we've had a fun time. Happy Saturday, everybody. Thanks for everyone coming out. We've had 1,332 people watching the show today. We appreciate you being here. We've had a great live audience of people in the chat. We've had a bunch of people in the back. Mike, let's see. Did we have any super chats tonight? I think we did, and I forgot to bring them up. I want to thank everybody for your super chats tonight. Yeah, we were a little busy today, and I wasn't paying as much attention as I should. I want to go ahead and thank Anne-Marie for $15 Australian. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. The Vern Dude, $2. Shit happens. We're all human, I think. And Laura Greeno says, DT is the family. DT show and family are the best. Thank you. Yes, right. We are not just here for ourselves. We're here for all of you. And we'll take the shit. We'll deal with it. But you know what? Day after day, we're going to be here to cover disclosure no matter what the trolls are doing.
Right. We are going to bring the truth out to the public because that's why we're here. That's why we do this. If we were just doing it for ourselves, we wouldn't have a show. to share with everybody.
Exactly, my friend. And Mike, as we usually say at the end of every one of our broadcasts, eyes open. Liz W, or this is Liz W. Thank you very much for $20 for coming at the end. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much. This is a fan-funded program, and the donations this month have been off the roof. Thank you, everybody. We love it. And as we usually say, Mike, at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. Y'all come back now here. See you soon. Bye-bye.